Okay, we're having some technical difficulties. Good morning. Uh-oh. Good morning. Okay, I saw at least some lips are moving between some coffee and talking, so that's good. All right, so, that was a wonderful introduction. Thank you, Dr. Kolbanecki. You're going to hear some of the pieces that you might have heard a little bit earlier if you've taken the diversity online training. How many of you have done the online training for diversity? Excellent. If you did not know or if you don't realize it, I actually teach too. I'm a walk around, so I'm not trying to be like Johnny Carson or somebody with this mic. Okay? Oh, okay. I don't know. Is this working?
Yeah, hear me?
Okay, so now I'm going to look like Janet Jackson. All right, I do a great black cat impression. Okay, so today we're going to talk about creating an inclusive classroom and civility. And you really heard a lot about civility, but it's not been so apparent. But stay awake. Stay with me, okay? We are going to have a little fun this morning. If you didn't know it, no, I'm not going to have you stand up, do jumping jacks, but we are going to get a chance to interact a little bit, okay? I'm very much into an active learning environment. I'm also the professor that no one wants to have if they think they're going to sleep. I like to make eye contact with every student that I have. And when your eyes close, that's when I call on you. Has anybody been in a classroom like that? Okay? I'm not trying to encourage you to be that person, to be that teaching assistant. But it does go a long way. When you see someone picking their nails, when you see somebody on the phone, and you're trying to pull them back in, when you're building a culture of civility in a classroom, other students are watching other students. Do you know what I'm talking about? It can sometimes spread. Someone pulls out their phone, they start texting. Somebody else pulls out their phone, they think it's okay, and they start texting. Or it may be one person who comes in, maybe they're 20 to 30 minutes late. It sends a message to other students. Anybody know what I'm talking about? Can I get a hand up if you know what I'm talking about? Okay. All right. Okay, so good. So we can come over some of those barriers already. The question really is about building civility in a classroom is how comfortable are you in building it and sustaining it? Very critical here. Building it and sustaining it. You can start off with a great first day. In fact, you've got a lot of great advice. You come in, you got your contract with your syllabus, which that's how I look at my syllabus too. It is a contract, a relationship between you and I. I tell my students right away, and it depends on how comfortable you are, I am not your friend. Don't try to friend me on Facebook. Okay? I become friends after the classroom is done, grades are submitted, and the relationship is done as I am your professor and students. That's just my style. I've not had this go wrong with me. However, if your style is to be friends with your students, okay, how many people kind of feel like they're going to go in and be friends with their students? Okay, if you go in with that, you're going to have to set up some barriers. If they ask you to go out with them on the weekend, is that a good idea? Well, what if someone's hosting a party? Okay, now I see some confusion on that. Okay, I see some confusion. Okay, remember to go back to that handbook, refer to what is the proper. Remember, you are no longer the student. You are now in charge of the classroom. Okay, so everybody should sit. I'm now in charge of the classroom. Can you sit up? Sit up. Head up. Okay. Some of you that may not be very comfortable. Okay. I actually work in interpersonal communication. I have my bachelor's, my BAc is in communications with an emphasis in journalism. My master's is in mass communications with an emphasis in marketing. And my doctorate is actually in education, leadership, and policy administration. That's academics for you. With an emphasis in diversity. It's the same story everywhere. It's communication. And people's comfortable ability to maintain it and sustain it in a classroom shows how they can be successful. And those that cannot, usually the ones, okay, and you may have had this, Professor. So this is what we'll be doing today. Please open your books and such and such. Yes, you should have your assignments. Please pass them around. Please get them back to me by tomorrow or next week. If you have questions, make an appointment. I'll be around. Okay? No eye contact, no interaction with the students, and you see a lot of their backside only because they're more comfortable looking at the board or the PowerPoint versus talking to you. Do you know what I'm talking about? How does that make you feel? Sleepy? Come on. Bored? They don't want to be there. Why should I want to be there? This is a nonverbal. They don't even have to tell you that they're bored. And there's a lot of assumptions. Depending on your background, maybe even your cultural background, you can interpret it different. If I told you that sometimes people can interpret making eye contact as being offensive, would you believe me? In some cultures, it can be. All right? You don't know the background of the individual, or they have a serious case of anxiety with making eye contact. Or they could have a disability, okay? And there might be a social awkwardness, too. When people avert away from eyes, sometimes people get the impression they're being dishonest with them, too. Okay? So these are things you have to keep in mind. There are different reasons why people do certain actions. And when we talk about diversity, each one of you are diverse. You're going to bring some of those pieces to the table, and we derive our strength from that diversity. So what I'm talking to you about really today is how to be inclusive, allowing your classroom to come through and shine. I've taught for many of years. I've been a teaching assistant. I've been a research assistant. I've been where you are so many years ago. Okay? So many years ago. So many years ago. I get it. Nerve-wracking. The first day, I actually had to go to the water fountain a few times just to get myself prepared to stand up in front of a class to introduce myself. You do not have to show hands if you have that kind of anxiety, but I did. Okay? I think I'm going to give them a little couple hints on, if they haven't done it, like how you can relax your anxiety.
Stan helped us with that a little bit on Tuesday. With some good breathing and...
So everybody's breathing. They know how to breathe. Okay, this is good. All right. I'm checking. I will be checking. If you're laid out on the floor, you're not breathing, we're going to work on it. In interpersonal communication and public speaking, I had to actually not only show confidence in my speaking, but I had to help the students get there. In your classrooms, you may have them, I don't know how many are you planning to have people stand in front of you and talk? Group exercises, anybody having that sort of thing? Some of you may or may not. Okay, you may have, I've had students fall out on me. They lock their knees and they fall out. People are very nervous about public speaking. So if you have that anxiety, practice, practice, practice. Practice in front of the cat, the dog, anybody who'll listen to you. People at the grocery store. But don't scare them. Okay? All right. The key is that so that the classroom can feel comfortable with you. And again, for those that are like, hey, I've done this before. This is old hat. I don't really need to. Just go along for the ride. Okay? Be for the ride. Maybe it might pick up something. Okay. All right, so I'm going to talk a little bit about my office. Why is my office here? Who am I? Who am I really? I don't know. Okay, so the goal of my office, the Office of Equity, Diversity, and Community Engagement, it's right here, is to create an organizational culture that is welcoming to all individuals. That's the goal. Everyone, you as well as the students, in their own uniqueness. This culture results in an environment that allows individuals to have the opportunity to succeed in all aspects of their academic and professional endeavors. Very, very important. I always like to give people kind of an idea in case you do need assistance. We have the Catherine S. Eberly Center for Women on our campus. One of the oldest centers in the United States is housed here. Don't tell the students, but we have free printing, unlimited printing. It's unusual, but we do have that. We have a wonderful endowment and people who donate to the center, and the center is here. And it's also for men too. They come in. Okay, we work very closely with Stan and the counseling centers. We have the Minority Business Development Center. We do all the diversity trainings. The lecture series on diversity. There's ways for you to encourage your students to get involved on campus. There's a lecture series to talk about culture here on campus. Encourage them. If you see something, promote it. They'll appreciate it. We do the Culture Climate Survey, which the results from 2014 will be coming out. Asking your opinion on what you think the culture looks like. That helps build civility when you ask people what they think. You open the floor to be able to say, we care what you think, and we're going to do something about it. And we'll celebrate successes. The diversity plans. Each one of the colleges have a diversity plan. If you're curious on what the college is doing, it's all posted online. You can find that information in the area of diversity. And we also have the Culture Building Institute and now the Diversity Certificate Program. So we're very excited about that. And that actually just started. So who we are. These are just some of the dimensions of diversity. I don't know if there's any of them that don't look familiar. You may not know what they are. But some of these are just some of the dimensions. The dimensions go on and on and on. And you're not just one-dimensional, you're multidimensional. Okay? But you might self-identify yourself into one category. Okay, so this is the fun part. Some interaction. Now, you're grouped in tables. So, and we only have so much time, so what I'm going to do is we're going to do just a quick exercise here. Amongst the folks at your table, I want you to find 3 things in common. And go. Start talking. Oh, yeah. Okay, how we doing? All right. Okay, at your table, give me a thumbs up if you found 3 things in common. Somebody at your table. Someone take the lead. Someone take the lead at this table. You still looking for 3 things in common? Uh-oh. 3 things. Okay, keep going. I'll give you another minute. 3 things in common. You guys are done? Awesome. Thumbs up. Are your lips moving? You guys talking? Okay. All right. All right, all right, all right. You good? Good, thumbs up. Okay. All right. 3 things in common, and I did not define the word things. So somebody volunteer 1 thing in common. Yes. All males. They all have phones and they all are TAs. That's pretty good. That was quick, too. Awesome. Oh, yes. We're all the same species. Wait a minute. Are you biology over here? What is this? Oh. Very good. Somebody had a thumb over here. Yes.
Well, we all dress professionally today.
Professionally dressed.
We're all in the same grade, and we're all in
pharmacy. Pharmacy and all in the same grade. Excellent. We know where we are, who we are. Yes.
Habitual coffee drinkers.
Oh, habitual coffee drinkers. Anything else? The fact that you're close by the coffee. You're like the what? You're what? The black hair table. Oh, is there any other black hair table? Yes. Oh, Muslim? Yes. Yes. All TAs? Okay. Similar traditions. Yes, because of being Muslim. Excellent. Excellent. All right, anybody else? Okay. All right, so give me another minute of your time. 3 things that are different. 3 things that are different at your table. Go. Okay, how we coming? Give me some thumbs. 3 things that are different. Any thumbs? Thumbs over here? Thumbs? Kinda? Okay. Let's start way in the back of the room because that thumb went up real quick. Give me something that's different at your table. Age. Age. Very good. Okay, anybody else? What's that? Different DNA. Another one. Oh, hometown. Hometown. Over here. Different color. Skin color. Yes. Somebody. Different country. Different country. What's that? Different programs. How about our coffee drinkers? How you guys doing? Anything different? Oh, covered your bases. Okay. So why do we do this exercise? Well, it gives you a chance to talk to someone at the table. Now, you've been probably talking to people at the table all this time, right? Maybe? If not, this was an opportunity. What's interesting about this is you may remember some things as your teaching assistants, your career goes on here at the institution. You might run across this individual standing in line at Starbucks, okay, and say, I remember you're the habitual coffee drinker. Yeah, you were part of my group, right? Some of these things, some of the little differences and nuances come through. I wouldn't be surprised if you recognize each other when you're walking across campus and say, hi, I remember you from orientation. Okay? Depending on how long you'll be here teaching. Okay? Which one was easier? Differences or finding the commonality? Differences? Statistically, actually, differences are easier to find. And that's because we're taught at a very early age to look for differences. Anybody remember that game where they give you 2 sheets of paper? It was usually second grade, maybe or may not, depending on where you were taught or how you were taught. But please circle the differences in these 2 pictures. They still play it now in the newspaper. Find the 2 things that are different. So we train ourselves to look for differences immediately. They could be physical attributes. Usually people can look at someone and say, they're different from me right away. It's usually unconscious. Okay? What we're challenging the campus community to do to build a culture here is to find a common ground. Find something in common with your students. Find something in common with your colleagues. Everyone at your table is a colleague. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the mission, a little bit about the core values with you, on how important that really is. It makes a difference for students. There are students walking around on this campus. They'll never make eye contact. They'll never try to look up from their phone. They'll never try to get out their earpieces from their ears. That's some great music they might be listening to, but they might be toning out the world for a reason. Okay? There might be something else going on. Don't assume anything. They might really want to make a connection, but they don't know how. Don't assume. Okay? So I always look the common ground. I've not found any teaching assistant ever that says, please, give me this job and let me fail within 2 months. They could be out there, but I've not found them. You have a common ground and want to be successful as a teaching assistant or a research assistant or a grad assistant here at the campus. I've not found someone who wants to be unsuccessful. That's the common ground. Civility. You know what, before I put the definition up, can somebody tell me, what does civility mean? Being civil, he says. No, you know what the rule is. You're not supposed to use the root word in the word when you're giving the definition. At least you're not supposed to. But yes. To be respectful. Is that it? Anybody got anything else? Coffee drinkers, yes. Proper social manners. Who defines proper social manners? Society. Which society? Ours, somebody says. Interesting. What if you're from a culture that there's certain things that you do that's different than the main society that's here? Can that person still be uncivil? The word from civil, civilization, is the reason why they're all tied together, right? We're trying to give you a culture here of understanding with the handbook, right? That's why you hear about these policies and what to do and what not to do, because we're trying to build a level of understanding, a common ground of knowing what to do and what not to do in a classroom. The civility here, it's a noun. Courtesy, politeness, a polite action or expression. There's also some synonyms, I think, that said like manners, tact. Tact. What's interesting, I know a lot of people who see themselves as civilized, but they have no tact. Okay? And either one, because they weren't trained to understand what tact was, or two, they don't value the tact. Okay? When you are in command of your classroom, which you are, you may have someone speaking over top of another student who wants to speak. Do you know what I'm talking about? Anybody know what I'm saying? Okay? You're in charge of that classroom. It will be your responsibility to allow the voice to come through. Because we derive strength from our diversity, every voice is important in that classroom. Rolling of eyes. Oh. Anybody watch Napoleon Dynamite? Ever seen Napoleon Dynamite? Napoleon Dynamite's character, when he's disgruntled with something, he goes, ugh. Frustrated. That's his way of communicating. He's frustrated. He doesn't just come out and be direct about it. He's frustrated. You may have some of those nonverbals going on in your classroom. You may have some of those uncivil characteristics aimed at you. What? You start the classroom. You start and say, now we're going to begin. And now it's on time. Because we just listened to the last speaker, and she said to start your classroom on time, right? Okay. Hint, hint. So you're starting on time, but somebody starts consistently coming in after the class has started. What do? What do? Uh-oh. Do you allow the behavior? Yes? No? How many are you comfortable with addressing it with the student? The question is, when do you address it? How do you address it? Do you do it right there in front of the class? Do you do it after class? What do you say? I always start with benign intent. I was taught that very early in my career. You never know what's going on with the student. It may not be about you at all. What? It's not about me? I'm important. You are important. It could be something going on in that student's life. I would suggest, if it's consistent, that you have a site. Can I see you after class? Now, if you call it and say, this, I'm just giving you just a helpful hint. If someone comes in, they come in and say, oh, I'm sorry, Dr. Gore. I go, okay, you know what time? You know what the contract says. Okay? But if they're consistent, then you can have that conversation as, I need to see you after class. You can do that in front of the class without creating any more conversation. They start to go into an excuse. Just save it. We'll talk later. So you're not putting them on the spot to reveal something that might be very, very personal on why they're coming late. It takes the heat off. Or it also gives them a chance to think about what they're going to say to you for an excuse. I've literally had where my homework is on the bottom of a parrot cage. And then they say, you don't believe me, Dr. Gore? Here it is. And it had parrot droppings on it. Do you think I accepted it? No, because I don't have to. This is not the way you turn in work. It's not professional, okay? You're not going to get a job by handing it. If I handed it in to my vice president or my president, I'd be in so much trouble. Here's the report with parent droppings on it. Wouldn't go very far. I don't accept it. I demand that from my students because we are at a certain level, right? We're at a certain level. Types assignments, spell check's kind of important. That means if you're not spell checking, you're not reviewing the work. It's part of civility and how you're treating you as the professor and how you demand it in your class. I like to cover this to help you know who we are. And the reason why I do this, when we talk about civility and we talk about diversity, no matter where you go in your careers, and I hope, if anything, you remember all the presentations, which I hope you remember most of everything from the presentations, but if not, and you go out and you're looking for a career, not a job, but a career, that you always find out what the mission and the vision of wherever you're going. And the reason why is that you will find that a lot of your happiness and joy from your job is understanding the environment and the culture you're walking into. If your goals, aspirations, your vision, your ethics do not match up with the mission or the vision of that corporation or organization or institution, then you know you're going to start off with having problems. Okay? The mission of the university, you should know where you're employed, is here. The mission of University of Toledo is to improve the human condition. We're all doing it. To advance knowledge through excellence in learning, discovery, and engagement, and to serve as a diverse, student-centered, students first, public metropolitan research and university. This has not changed, nor will it be changing. This is who we are. We are not in the middle of a cornfield at this institution. We are not on an island. Now, you may have come from an institution that might have been in a cornfield or on an island. I'm thinking of my friends in Hawaii that came. Okay? But even in Hawaii, they still engage with their local community. We do a lot of engagement with our local community. Some engage through churches, mosques, okay, temples. Others engage by giving back and volunteer. We have a high percentage of volunteering on this campus. In the climate survey, the students who did participate in that, more than 45% of the students claimed that they volunteered in some kind of way, shape, or form. It's amazing how much we give back to the community. It's very important to us. If you didn't know, we have core values. Do these look familiar? If not, here they are. I show them to every student who's ever come through my classroom, and I say, are we going to have a test on this? Do I have to know this? No, but I may ask you at some point to stand up and give it to me. What? No, I'm just joking. But I do sometimes ask them. The part that I like to cover, again, it has to do with an inclusive classroom and civility and diversity here on this campus. Create an environment that values and fosters diversity. Earn the trust and the commitment of our colleagues and the community served, which of course we're student what? Centered. We're student centered. Provide a collaborative and supportive work environment based upon keywords here: stewardship and advocacy. If you did not know it, you are now stewards of the institution, of the students you serve, and you advocate for them and for each other. That means you're going to take care of each other. They say that you hurt the ones you love. Don't they say that? Always hurt the ones you love. I'm not asking you to love your colleagues, but I am asking you to advocate for them. And when they need to talk to someone, they may be coming to you. You may not know why, but they may need someone to talk to. And there's offices that are available for both those students that will come and for colleagues who need help. Encourage them to take up those services. Here's our UT definition of diversity. It's not exclusive in any dimension of diversity, like I said. These are just, it's not limited to, it's very stressed here, but you have to have some kind of level of diversity definition, and here it is. Culture. So I've talked a little bit about sustainability. Remember that word I was talking about with your communication in your classroom? Culture is shared. You are now in the culture of being a TA. You are now in the culture at the University of Toledo officially as employees, as advocates and stewards of your students. So you got a lot of labels today. You didn't even know it. Very much different dimensions of diversity. It's durable and robust when you build a culture. Its survival and power do not depend on the presence or personality of a single individual. It should not matter if I'm up here talking about this, if Dr. Kolmanecki is up here talking, if anybody else from myself is up here talking about diversity, culture, civility, how to treat one another. It's the same message. And it reinforces each one of us. I think the prior speaker, she was talking about active learning. I'm going to talk to you about active listening, which I've been doing with you as we've been going along. I'm not allowing you not to engage with me. Even if you're not making direct eye contact with me, that's okay. Because I know you're somehow engaged at some level, because I can tell. Because even though we have, 100 and, how many students? Teaching assistants? Couple hundred of you. That's a lot, right? Some of you may be facing classes that are this size, right? How do you engage? How do you keep them engaged? This is just something magic. I like to have a scrolling slide just for fun. No. So again, these are some of the major dimensions. This will be this whole presentation, and there will be actually definitions of the different dimensions of diversity. There's also going to be a fact sheet for you so that if you need to know like what exactly some of the terminology is, we're going to have that available for you too. And again, if you're taking a diversity training, some of this may sound a little familiar. Okay. So what I like to do, I do this for everyone when I do actually any diversity workshops, is I like to give you some statistics on what the campus looks like. Because I don't know where else you'll get statistics like this. But I think it's important to know what the campus makeup is, the student population. This was 2013. I'm going to put a little disclaimer on this, as I always do. I do not come up with these categories. I do not think anybody on this campus has any antenna on their heads, nor are they aliens. I don't have a choice in that. Okay? This is something that's state mandated, federally supported. Trust me, it takes an act of Congress to change this. I know this. I was the UT Census Liaison back in 2010. I got a lot of calls. I'm not an alien. I know you're not. I know. Okay? But what this is, these are self-identifying categories. This kind of gives you a flavor of what the campus looks like. There's also transgender on campus. The way the reporting structure is set up, it does not allow for transgender faculty, staff, or students to actually report that. We're not legal to be able to ask the question. The only place you're able to do it is through the climate survey. That's why we know they're transgender on campus, self-identify. This is faculty and staff. This is our makeup from 2013. How many are you from UTMC? Or going to be on UTMC? Pharmacy? Okay. So you'll see that that's including UT, that's a health science campus. Okay. Okay. So actually in a wrap-up, because of our time, I know we've been moving things a little bit around quite a bit. I show you the demographics because I feel, as the Chief Diversity Officer here, is that you need to know what the statistics are on campus or online. But I really don't care about the demographics as much as I care about the uniqueness. So I don't really get into the labels as much. If you gave it to me, I'd have everybody self-identify the way they wanted and fill in the blank. It's just me. But the reason why it's so important, it's important for your classrooms, the civility to come through, to keep composure of your classroom, the uplifting experience the students should be having when they come in of learning, when they come to you. There's an expansion of learning, okay, through exposure. You may have students in your classroom that may not have ever met someone like you before in their life. Do you get what I'm saying? Depending on your dimension. They may not have an exposed and a very wide variety of understanding of diversity. They may ask you questions that you deem very odd because they don't know. What I'm asking you to do is to hesitate and then educate. Don't take it personally. Don't jump and get emotional about it because they may not know. We have increased the ability to talk about diversity in our classrooms, people feeling more comfortable because they feel that they have a welcoming, inclusive environment to be able to do it. Okay? So if you're going down that path, now if something that's just totally inappropriate, you know it's intentionally trying to harm, again, you can do what? Ask the student to what? Stay after. Let's talk about that. Okay? Usually people can tell. If you can't tell, you can get to the heart of it after class. It takes you off the spot and it takes the student off the spot because it may be unintentional. It might be unintentional, what they call microaggression. They may not have known. Appreciation, maintenance of one's own culture. Their diversity they bring to the table is just as important as everybody else's to the table. Ability to network with others. It's great. Wonderful opportunity to relate to others. Ability to effectively handle barriers. There's nothing like when I go to receptions and it's like students are supposed to be mentored or they're supposed to be interacting with maybe alumni or, maybe some fundraising abilities from they get a chance or they want to get maybe an internship or co-op. And where do you think I find the students when I go to these? At the food table. They're all gathered around at the food table because they don't feel comfortable making the introductions themselves. So I make a point to say, you need to meet so-and-so, especially if you're looking for that co-op in bioengineer. Okay? So get out of your comfort zone. Big emphasis. And you're going to help the students get there too. Knowing how to balance being part of groups and maintaining individuality. There may be some struggles in the classroom itself where some students, you feel that they're conjoined. They don't leave each other's side. I've had that in my classroom. There may be a comfort zone there. Find out how you can get the student to expand as well as them feel comfortable in the classroom. Okay? And common ground should always be your goal. Again, keep in mind what I've said today. A common ground of understanding will go a long way amongst your colleagues and amongst the students that you have. If at any point you feel uncomfortable, gets out of hand, people are being uncivil to each other in the classroom, shut it down. It's a safe zone. We're in a safe place. That's not happening here. If it gets into name calling, what do you do? I don't know if they've covered that sort of thing. Name calling? You can always have a what? After classroom discussion. You don't have to work out all the details right there in the classroom. You're teaching assistants. You're not mediators. Okay? And you might need some extra help on some of those pieces. Don't feel obligated to have to fix everything. Okay? You can also always call someone in to help you with the classroom. I've been called in on classroom situations. My staff has been called in to help have a conversation about diversity and building a culture within the classroom. There's opportunities for that too. Make sure that your chairs and your responsible agents that are responsible for that program, they know what's going on, and they'll make the decisions on how to go forward. Don't feel like you have to solve it yourself if you're really stuck. Okay? So I hope that concludes my presentation, what I have time today for. I hope that you've enjoyed the time with me a little bit. But I can't say enough how excited I am to see all of you here. There's so many of you. And how many students you're going to affect. You are truly our front line. I say front line, meaning those students. You may be their first experience on campus. You may be the first. They may come to you for all kinds of things they don't even realize they need. So go out there and change the world. Thank you.